Well, welcome everyone. It's great to see you. My name is Brittany Klinke, if we haven't met previously, and I'm the Director of Admissions at Wheaton Academy. And I have just been so looking forward to tonight's webinar with truly some of my favorite people at Wheaton Academy. So I'm just so excited for you to meet them and just kind of hear from their perspective as we specifically dive into student life at Wheaton Academy, particularly with all the different co-curricular options that are available. So if you're just now joining us, we'll spend a little bit of time chatting and let some other participants join the room, and then we'll get started here in just a couple minutes. So I thought we'd start and have Corbett tell us a little bit about the radio show that her advanced drama class is doing, which Lars is in. So yeah, Corbett, tell us a little bit about that while we wait.
So I normally this semester teach an advanced theater class for a number of students, and I have over 30 kids in that class this semester. It's a really large group. And so when we got when school got closed off to all of us, when school got shut down, we kind of were faced with that dilemma of whether or not to cancel our production. And you know, Wheaton Academy is not one to go down without a fight. Like we're like, no, we are doing this. So my theater class, we are producing, we're calling them the pandemic productions. So they are a series of radio shows that all of my students are producing from their homes. And so we have 5 different radio shows. There's an Agatha Christie mystery, there's a crime drama, there's one of the radio shows is Little Women. We're also doing Casey at the Bat, because we have a varsity baseball player in our class who his season has been effectively canceled, but not in the theater world. So he's in Casey at the Bat. And then we're also doing Superman, which is really fun. And Lars, who's here on this webinar, is a senior in my theater class, and he is actually playing Robin, because this radio show, it's Superman, but it's about Batman going missing, basically. And they're all these vintage radio shows from the 40s and 50s that we are producing, and Lars plays Robin. So you can tell us all about that, Lars.
Yeah, please do.
I mean, really, it's a radio production, so a lot of it is like we record it ourselves, and then we use this app to kind of like put it all together, kind of like GarageBand almost. And then what we're gonna do is we all took these like funny pictures of us like in costume, and then so like while the like radio drama's playing, you'll see like us in costume like pop up when we're talking. So helps a little visual aspect to it.
It's been really cool to see him work on it though, because they've got, I mean, you guys probably know this, but they have all these different lines on the computer, and he's juggling music and voice and overlapping, and it's been really cool to watch.
Yeah, and it's kind of available. It's coming out. It's going to be released on Friday, May 22nd, so a week from tomorrow. And it's been a cool way for students to be able to still be connected, even though we're all in quarantine, and to be able to collaborate still and do their art and use it in a different way to explore voice acting instead of stage acting, but to keep up with their craft, explore a new craft, and then also try their hand at things like sound effects and music, and discovering all of the costumes you didn't know you had lying around your house. So it's really pushed them to be very creative, and it's been really special, I think, to still be able to connect with my students in that class, even though we've had to be far away. And it's been a way to still be near and still use our art in a way that's really unique during a time that people need the arts. So it's been fun.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear them. So well, with that, I'd love to get officially started. For those of you who just joined us, welcome. We're excited that you're here. Before we dive into some introductions, I just do want to spend some time going over the control panel that you have as attendees. So there's different settings that you can see there. The 2 ones I really want to point out to you are the chat options, where you can put in questions all night long if you'd like, as we talk here, and just as things come up, message them. Our colleague Robert is here as well, and he'll be answering those questions and then also sending them to us so we can answer them live. There also is an option of downloading some of the handouts that we'll show you later on tonight, but they're typically the materials we give families when they come on campus for a tour or a visit or an event like this, but tonight we're sticking to it all digitally. So there's a philosophy booklet that explains kind of our school's approach to things. There's the application guide that explains how to apply when it comes time for your student to do that, whether you're a transfer now, incoming ninth grader, or in seventh, if those of you in seventh grade, things to look at for next fall. And then there's also a Ready, Set, Go booklet that really is our primary overview piece that explains our academic philosophy, our student culture, our spiritual life, and college initiatives. So that is probably the biggest tool provided in the handouts. And then lastly, there is a list of the co-curricular guides, which we'll get to here in a second, of all the different opportunities and program leaders that we have at the Academy. But before I show you that, I first just want to introduce you to who is on this call, so you have some context. So I thought we'd go around and do some introductions and just explain your name, maybe your position or your class, and maybe how long you've been at the Academy, just to start off tonight. So Brad, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. My name is Brad Thornton, and I'm the Vice Principal for Instruction, but I also play a couple different roles. I teach English. I serve as the co-chair of the English department, and I'm involved with co-curriculars as a football coach. And up until this year, have served in the head coach role, and I'm transitioning out of that to be an assistant in the program. I've been at Wheaton Academy now 7 years, so wrapping up the 7th year. And yeah, I've been involved with coaching, teaching, and then transitioning into more administrative stuff in the recent years.
Thanks, Brad. You are a true Renaissance man. I know you will not say it about yourself, but I can say it about you. So great. Well, Corbett, you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Corbett Burek, and I am the head of the Fine Arts program at Wheaton Academy. I direct all of the shows that we do there because I'm the resident theater person. This is my 20th, the end of my 20th year here at Wheaton Academy, which is crazy. But I also was a student at Wheaton Academy forever ago, so I feel like while I wasn't born at Wheaton Academy, I do feel like I have been there my entire life because I went there for all 4 years of high school. My mother taught at Wheaton Academy, so it's a special place that I would not have come back to teach there if it had not been a place that truly impacted my life as a student as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Corbett. How about Erin? You want to go next?
My name is Erin Carwell, and I am just finishing my 4th year at Wheaton Academy. I'm the Dean of Students and one of the counselors, so I work with student services with many different students that come through the doors. But I will say my favorite part of Wheaton Academy is I'm the girls varsity basketball coach. So Kelly, who's also here, is one of my players, so I've gotten to know her quite well over the last year. I wear a bunch of different hats, and I also get to meet many of you that will be coming in the doors as I work with the admissions team. I work with Mrs. Klinke when students come in to interview. So I wear lots of different hats here at Wheaton Academy.
Awesome. Thanks, Erin. Well, Kelly, you got a little setup there, so you want to go next?
My name is Kelly Bickhart. I am a junior at Wheaton Academy. I was actually new this year, so it's my first year finishing up, and I am so excited to hop into senior year next year when it comes. As Coach Carwell said, I play basketball, soccer, and I run cross country. So I love to be involved in athletics, just pouring into other people. I love the community at Wheaton Academy. Also, kind of like Miss Burek had said, is she grew up on the campus, and just like her, I grew up on the campus. But it was just recently that I was able to come here, and it is such a blessing to be able to walk where I learned to walk. So I'm walking in the hallways, and it's crazy, but it's amazing to be here, and it's been such a blessing.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly. And Castle, do you want to wrap us up?
So I'm Susie, and I actually think I started coming to Wheaton Academy when I was in 5th grade because my brother, my oldest brother, started going to the school then, and my mom started painting sets for the musicals. And so as a 5th grader, I would come and I would help her. So then I went to Wheaton Academy, and was involved in all sorts of stuff. And now Lars is our youngest of 4 kids, and he is a senior. Oh, sorry, I just introduced him. But anyways, so he's actually the last of 3 generations of geezers to go to Wheaton Academy. So we got to wait till the next generation comes around till there's another one.
Yeah.
You now tell who you are.
So I'm Lars. I'm a senior at Wheaton Academy. Been here for all 4 years, and I took part with football this year, along as with Jordan as our coach. I was the kicker, and I also did soccer and Furnace Company, which is a improv and dance team, and I've also been in the musicals. So I ride the line between like acting and sports.
Awesome.
And he was also Mr. Wah. He was crowned Mr. Wheaton Academy in April, so that should also be noted on your resume, Lars.
Yes. I love it. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Wah is a long-standing tradition where the senior class nominates some senior boys to do kind of a talent show, essentially, where they come together, put on some different acts, and then the audience votes for their favorite act. And first year ever, it was online. It was kind of an at-home edition, and Lars was kind of reigning champion. So we had about 1,000 people tune in too, which was really fun. So he really won. It was a big audience. So, well, good. Well, thank you guys for those introductions, and I'm sure we'll learn more about you as we get going tonight. But before we dive into some of the questions, I do want to take a minute, and Robert will show on our screen the list of co-curricular guides that you have in the downloads. And I thought this would be helpful just to show first, so you guys can open it up at home on your browser and just scroll through and look at all the different opportunities that we have for students at Wheaton Academy. At the top, it lists all the number of opportunities, which is over 2,000 and counting. So with about 660 students, there are a lot of different avenues and platforms for your students to get involved. So there's a link there too that takes you to kind of a greater page that explains more things, but we can put that in the chat too for your convenience. But really it breaks down all the different co-curricular options, from academics to athletics to fine arts and everything in between. It also lists the name of the Wheaton Academy staff or faculty member that runs that club or team. And so if you want to reach out to them or email them, you're welcome to. All of our Wheaton Academy emails are the first initial of the first name and then the last name. So for me, it'd be like bclinky@wheatonacademy.org. So if you want to reach out to them and learn kind of more specific about the programs, you're welcome to do that. And again, that handout is in your links that you have here tonight. So if you'd like to look at that further, you're welcome to open that up. But with that, I think we should probably start and explain why we call them co-curricular. I think a lot of times when I say it to incoming families, they kind of look at me like, what is co-curricular? Why don't you call it extracurricular? So anyone want to answer that question for us tonight? Why do we call it co-curricular?
I can jump in and answer. To use the word extra would imply that it is something outside of the day-to-day school programming, that it's an add-on or an addition that is maybe not an integral part of what the day-to-day looks like. So we call our co-curricular programs co-curricular because they are an integral part of our school's curricular programming. The idea of the living curriculum teacher, which is something we talk about quite a bit, is something that applies not only in the classroom, but we extend that also outside of the classroom too, to all of these athletics, clubs, fine arts activities, pretty much everything that we do at Wheaton Academy. We're looking to have outstanding coaches, leaders, program heads in place so that what we're doing in the classroom at Wheaton Academy is just on the athletic field, on the court, whatever it may be. It's just an extension of what's already happening during the normal school day hours. So we consider our co-curricular programs to be an integral part of our school's philosophy. It doesn't exist outside of our school's philosophy. the idea of relationships, excellence, and service, all to the glory of God, is something that we're driving at with every one of our programs, hence co-curricular, not extra. It's not an addition, it's not on top of, it is an integral part of what we're doing as a school.
Awesome. Thanks, Brad. Anyone want to add to that, of kind of their experience of that integration?
The only thing I would add to that, because I completely agree with the way that Brad explained it. The thing that I would also say is that I feel like it's much like how we partner with our parents and our families. I feel like we partner what happens after school with what happens in the classroom, and we see those two things as being both valuable and both necessary. One's not extra and the other one's important. They're both critical to the shaping of students and to our student life at Wheaton Academy. And that's why we consider them to be of similar value, to be honest, because they both shape our students, and what happens on the field, what happens in the classroom, what happens on the stage, all of those things help to shape and mold the students that come through our doors. And so we want that focus of relationships, excellence, and service that Brad so eloquently explained to be something that happens both in the classroom as well as outside it.
And I think that's why we strive and host things like this to encourage our students to get involved, because we think it's so integral for them to find something that meets their passions and their gifts. And we started with that list for all the students to see, because we feel that there's something to meet every student's needs. Court, on the field, in theater, with robotics, there's something out there for every kid, and there's probably multiple. And we want to partner with students and families to find that.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. Well, one of the questions I get a lot and got tonight is just, what are the opportunities that exist? And I think that list serves as a nice overview. But just to go a step deeper, I'd love to hear kind of what are your some of your favorite co-curricular options at Wheaton Academy, either things that you're involved in or things that you've seen other students get involved in that you just love or appreciate about what's available at our school.
Yeah, well, one thing, was a huge part of my 4 years at Wheaton Academy was the spring musical, which Mrs. Burek is the head director of it. And it just kind of takes the first months of the second semester and you just dive into whatever musical is chosen. Always an amazing musical. And it's just so fun to work with two other directors, Mrs. Marr and Mrs. Wolfel, who are singing and dancing directors. And it's just such a blast working with, normally I think it's 50 to 60 other students, and just really just learning, kind of just using our talents that we've been given and doing it to the glory of God.
I think to go along with that, it's back and forth between theater and athletics. But I think one of the unique things is that, like, the leads in the musical can also be a quarterback on the football team. And there's just no stereotype of like one's cooler than the other. It's just this overlapping group of kids that are really talented and are really willing to throw themselves out there. And I think that's really unique. And even I help paint sets for the musicals now. And one of my favorite things, and I say this every year, is that all these different kinds of adults and kids get together and create one thing. And you've got the tech people, and you've got the voice people and the instruments, and it's just a cool thing. And I think it's unique that Corbett, how many people are involved in a musical?
I mean, at Wheaton Academy, we usually have approximately 200 because we have a really large stage crew. It's an all student played orchestra, plus all of the students who are in it, plus all the kids who work as ushers and on hair and makeup and costumes and prep, and the tech crew. So like it's usually between 200 and 250 people total who put that event together, which is kind of crazy. But I think speaks to the spirit of Wheaton Academy and what you were saying, Susie, that like it's not, oh, I only want to be involved in sports, or I only want to be on the robotics team. Like there's a sense and a spirit of coming together and community and wanting to support each other's gifts. And there's this beauty of getting to see each other's gifts be used and wanting to be a part of that. So I think that happens a lot, whether it's on the field. I mean, I help with football because I help to create the opening like moments and the display and the running through the helmet in the fog. Like I help create that, not because you know, like I could choose not to because that's athletics and that's not my thing, but like I love what they do on the field just as much as I love what I create on the stage. And so I want to be involved in that. And there's that spirit, like you said, Susie, of wanting to support and build each other up and be involved in each other's gifts. And so that's one of the real rewarding things about WA in that regard.
Yeah, Miss Bjerg, I'm so glad that you talked about like recognizing the other people's co-curriculars and stuff like that, because I'm involved in athletics and I was not blessed with any musical ability at all. Like it's bad. But
we can find out next year if you want to try out for anything. I'm willing to help. I'll work with anyone.
But being able to see the musical, like especially this year, because it was my first year, I mean, I walked away and I was like, I talked about it for like 3 weeks straight. It was like so good. And like what you said about seeing other people's talents and being able to like see what they can do there and then seeing them on the field just like brings the community of Wheaton Academy together in such a different way. And how you talked about how the musical is also as athletes and athletes are in the musicals too. And that's so cool to see people shine in their different departments. Because it's not something that would come out very easily, but with this it's so cool to be able to see what people are capable of and to see like their special skills that like you'd have no idea until you see on stage.
Brittany, back to your original question about favorite clubs at Wheaton Academy. So when I started in 2013, I had no idea how widely talented Wheaton Academy students are and how widely involved they are as well. It was one of my first weeks at school that I heard about students that were involved with a climbing club. I was like, what is that? And sure enough, on a weekly basis in the afternoon, there's a group of students that goes over to vertical endeavors and they climb. And I was like, that's so cool. Like, I wish my high school had something like that. I would have definitely been involved. So the climbing club stood out to me. And then it was also in my first couple of years. There was one day I was walking out of my office. I was walking down the library stairs, and I just hear some like shouting in the library. I'm like, what is going on? And there are these kids with these VR headsets on in the library, part of the gaming club. I was like, what's the gaming club? So I start learning about that. Corbett's husband Josh has been involved with that club, and they're like, "Hey, Mr. Thorne, you want to try this VR game?" I was like, "Sure." So I slip on the virtual reality headset, and I'm walking through this landscape, and they're having a blast with it. The gaming club, so cool. They do a lot of different things, not only electronically, but also like physically manipulate. And there's this game called Flames of War, which just sounds epic. They've got these huge landscapes, these little mini figurines, these battle scenarios from World War II. Really cool stuff. And again, just amazed that there's this wide scope of opportunities for kids to plug into. Chances are, if you have an interest that feels like off the beaten path a little bit, maybe not as mainstream, there's a place to exercise that interest at Wheaton Academy.
Well, and that's what I was just going to go off of, Brad, is there's a place for it. And what I've learned is whether it's service and whether it's athletics, whether it's the fine arts, like there's going to be a place for it. And if there's not, like we're going to point you in a direction to find somebody to come alongside of you. And as I finish up my 4th year, we announce those every week. Like I'm up on stage, and that's one of my major roles, is to sit on stage every week and share what's going on in our school community. And sometimes I have to learn about them, like what's going on this week. And kids are like, oh, this is what we're doing in robotics club, Miss Carwell. Can you get up and announce it? And they're so excited to celebrate with the school community what went on in their co-curricular, what went on in their club this week. And I think that's a really cool thing about Wheaton Academy is we allow kids to dive in and create some of those and find an adult to come alongside with them, because we want you to be really passionate about those things.
And the relationships that you form within those clubs. Like you're never going to be the only one that is passionate about that certain thing. There's always going to be other people there, and they might not come out with it, but once it gets out, there will always be people that are going to do those things with you. And then that's going to give you an immediate group of people that you're like, these are my people, this is my connection, and it's going to be great because you're going to have a bunch of people that you're doing what you love, and you're doing it at Wheaton Academy.
That's great, Kelly.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
one of my friends, Stephen Chen, is just in love with the game of Ultimate Frisbee. And so one day he was like, hey, like, we should just get a Ultimate Frisbee club going. And so he started his own Ultimate Frisbee club game. And I think it was twice a week they would just go out in the field and play Ultimate Frisbee for as long as they wanted. I think that just speaks to like how like we also have like the freedom to like create our own club if we wanted, and people are so willing to join, which is just an awesome thing about Wheaton Academy.
Great. It's awesome. Well, thank you guys. I love hearing your answers. You never know where the conversation's going to go, but I think it honestly, what we're just kind of mentioning segues nicely into our next question of just kind of learning a little bit more about the coach or director or leader's relationship with the students. I think Brad, it kind of mentions what you were talking about earlier of just how we think it's all pretty integrated and a part of our whole school vision. But can you guys speak to a little bit about what that relationship is between students and the adult that runs the program?
Well, I'll jump in there. As a parent, it is the most priceless gift that can be given to my child. And the coaches that have mentored all 4 of my kids have been some incredibly godly people that have taken my kid and cared for them and mentored them, and that's been fabulous. And even like football, with Lars trying football this first year of his last year, how he was welcomed into that, and his coaches took time to get to know him and everything. And another fun thing is that my basketball coach from high school was Gene Frost, and so now I have like a whole generation later. I guess he's retired now, but he's still around, and he has been able to be part of my kids' lives, and that's really a unique thing. I just can't imagine that happens everywhere.
Anyone else want to speak to that?
Okay, I want to jump in here. This is like my favorite thing, but the relationships with the coaches and Coach Carwell, oh my gosh, make a point there, but she, like, especially Coach Carwell during basketball season, like, having a relationship with your coaches goes such a long way, and that's honestly what makes this season. And the coaches at Wheaton Academy are incredible, and they love their athletes with all their heart, and they're 100% devoted to the season. And just to see them pour into us and to see them pour into my other teammates, and when my other teammates are struggling with things, to see my coaches just like get them little gifts just to bless them because they know how tough things are. But the way that the coaches love their athletes just goes such a long way, and you're not going to see that at other high schools. Like, that's different, and that's specific to Wheaton Academy. And it speaks really into like how I'm growing through my 4 years of high school and getting these mentors to pour into me. Once I can, like, I text them all the time. I text my coaches, and it is so much fun because I can tell, like, I love it, they love it, my teammates love it. It's so cool, and you're not going to see that other places, and it's so special.
Well, and we feel real strongly about how do you discipleship your players on the court and off the court. And that was something that we poured into during the season. And we poured in not just specifically to your program, but throughout your programs, from the JV level to a varsity level, from a varsity level to a JV level, and teaching your girls how to do that to other players. I mean, that is something that as you're teaching leadership, you really want to grow in your program. And just to speak to Kelly, I mean, she biked out from her house and showed up on my doorstep the other day just to say hi during this quarantine, and sat 10 feet away with some players just to check in on her coach. But that just shows, like, there's this care that you really want to continue to pour into each other. And I think that's something that we really care about our players and care about their soul, not just their shot or their stats. And that's something that I have really learned throughout the last 4 years, and want to continue moving forward in that as well.
Something I loved with the football this year was after the game, all these huge boys would round up together, and then the parents would come and round up around them, and we would pray together. And it was really moving. It was a really cool experience to see these huge boys that were even bigger with all their pads on, just kind of humble before the Lord, and it was just a cool thing.
Yeah, I could speak to the question, Brittany, that you asked for a long time, but I'll try to keep it short and not get up too high on my soapbox. But the approach, at least as we have taken it within our football program, and this is how so many of our program leaders, our coaches approach their sports or activities as well, is that the training that we are doing, and I'm going to speak specifically to football here, the training that we're doing on the football field is preparation for a far greater, far larger mission in life, and that is service to the kingdom of Jesus Christ and building it. And what we're doing on the football field is just training for that mission. I tell my guys all the time, their highest highs and their lowest lows are going to come outside of athletic experience when they get on to be husbands, fathers, contributors to their workplace, to their churches, to their communities, whatever it may be. And our measure of success as coaches is not whether there's a win in the win column, even though that is, yes, a measure of an immediate success and something that we are driving hard after. The true measure of success is the type of men that the guys coming out of my program become. That when 5, 10, 15 years from now, we're checking in and they can say that they've learned something, taken something out of a lesson from the program, a relationship that they had, whether it's perseverance, whether it's a deep connection with a coach, something that made a mark on them that set them up to serve and build the kingdom of Jesus Christ. That's what it's about. And we try to design a lot of our program intent with that goal in mind. It's why we take our seniors every summer on a senior retreat for a night or two to pour into them, to build connections, and to teach them about leadership and what it means to lead well. It's why every week on Thursday nights, the football team gets together for meals. And yes, that's a fun time of camaraderie, but we're also having coaches pour into those guys with devotions, testimonies, intentionally sharing and opening up about their lives and hearts, because every one of our coaches are role models that I would set in front of our guys and say, this is a guy that you want to follow. Our position group coaches get to know their players. They want to get to know them on a deeper level, get to know their hearts, because they know that that's how they motivate guys. And I could go on and on about this, but really discipleship is what we are driving after, forming life transforming relationships that not only impact the season and driving after excellence on the field, but will impact an entire lifetime as well.
I want to add something really quick to the end of that, but what you were saying about that this extends past this season and the relationships that you have with the coaches, it's not just in your specific season, like in the winter or the fall or the spring, but it goes through the entire year and it's going to follow you out of high school. Even when you're done, you're going to come back and you're going to see your coach and you're going to be so excited because the relationships that you form with them, they're not just, oh, on the court, we're friends, but no, it's through the whole year. Your friends, and you can talk to these people and they are going to pour into you even if you're not on their team at the moment. They're still going to pour into you and they're going to love on you.
Yeah, to add to that, I played soccer my freshman, sophomore, junior year, and then my senior year I decided to play football, and me and my soccer coach were talking about it, and he was just so willing to let me like experiment with football. And then like every day I would see him on the field, because sometimes soccer and football split the field, and he'll just ask how I'm doing, and just like, even though like I left the program, like he still cared so much about me as a person, and we got a really good connection through like the 3 years I played with them.
Yeah, Lars's answer segues into something I wanted to hit too, just on the idea of ways people can get involved. We take what we would call a both and philosophy at Wheaton Academy, where we encourage our students to get involved with and to try a lot. When Lars approached me last summer and said, hey, I'm not thinking about playing soccer next year, I'd actually like to try kicking for the football team, I was a little skeptical for someone to make that transition. I mean, how does that happen? How do you just pick up kicking having never played football before? But his skill as a soccer player, the dedication and commitment he had learned from that program translated so well. And the first time I got on the field and saw him kick, he was booting it all over the place. I was like, oh yeah, he can do it. But it's taking a little convincing for mom to say he's going to be safe, it's going to be okay. And Lars was awesome. He had a great season for us, and it is a great example of that both and philosophy in place. He just highlighted where the soccer coach is still coming alongside him to support him and get excited for him and cheer him on, even though he's made a switch. And there could be tension between soccer and football. Those are two competing athletics and sports in the fall, but a great example of both programs kind of supporting one another. And I wanted to highlight one other, because Susie, you mentioned this too, and this pertains to Corbett. Several years ago, we had a pretty talented kid come through the football program. He was our quarterback starting since sophomore year. And as junior year, he was being recruited pretty heavily by even some Big Ten programs at the highest level. And he also happened to be the lead in some of our school musicals. And that put him in a position where there were times he might have to choose whether or not he was going to pursue something in the fine arts world and the theater world, or whether or not he was going to pursue his football career to the nth degree. And it would have been really easy for Corbett to come stomping into that situation and say, hey, I run the best musical in the state of Illinois. I've been here for 20 years. Get out of the way, football coach, who has only been here for 5 years. And she never took that approach. In fact, I remember sitting in my backyard one afternoon on the phone with Corbett, and the conversation was like, how can we work together to set this young man up for success so he doesn't have to choose? We've kind of made those choices for him, and he can still drive after his goals in football and still drive after his goals in theater. And we worked something out, a plan that worked well, and he was able to do both, and do both at a really high level.
And I think that goes to that concept of co-curricular. That idea of co means that I work with the athletic department, not against them. And I work with, like all of the programs, because I see value in all of the programs. I don't see my program as the be all end all, and the thing that if a kid doesn't participate in this, then they're out. Like there has to be that sense of give and take, and that respect for the gifts that God has given, whether they're in my field or in someone else's field. Because I think what Wheaton Academy, what we try to do is really see each and every student as made in the image of God. And because they're made in the image of God, God has given each of them different gifts and unique gifts. And I can either allow kids to, use those gifts, or I can get in the way of those gifts. And so it's my job to be, in co-partnership with all the coaches and with the athletic department and with the gaming club, because my husband runs it partially, but also because I want students, like I feel like there's this healthy perspective at Wheaton Academy that, like, yes, all these things are important, but we're shaping people. We're not just shaping athletes and actors, we're shaping people, and having all of these wide range of opportunities to try and be the kicker on the football team, and be in the musical, and be in the gaming club, and be on the rock climbing club. All of those things help to shape somebody into who they could become, partially because they get to climb a rock, but also because they get to be in connection and in relationship with the rock climbing coach. And so, like, there's great value in them getting to be a part of so many things, not just a part of what I do or what someone else does. So that's that co-concept again. It applies in so many different ways.
Great. It's awesome. Well, one question that did come up, and I think sometimes it's a scary question, especially when you hear about how great everything is. Are there cuts? Is there a possibility where a student couldn't be involved in something? I had one question come in particularly of for athletics. There's some experience in certain clubs or teams, but maybe not at that like club or travel level. And so for an incoming freshman in particular, how would you guys answer that question regarding cuts?
Do you want to take that, Brad?
Yeah, I can. It really depends on the program. There are some programs that have tryouts and do make cuts, depending on the amount of people trying out and the size of a team that a team roster can support. But there are a lot of programs where there are no cuts, and football is one of those programs where a no cut sport. We have had a lot of guys show up who have never played football before, and there's a spot for them on the team. If they want to give it a try, we usually tell them give it a try over the summer and then see how it goes and decide whether or not you want to make a commitment for the fall. And I would say this as a sidebar, especially for athletics in the fall. It's a great time for an incoming freshman to get involved and to get to know some people before they ever step foot in the halls for the first day of school. And we really intentionally try to build into our seniors the idea that they need to be welcoming freshmen, welcoming new faces into the program, and really creating a spirit of team unity and team camaraderie. And so that's something we build into it. But that's kind of diverging from the original question. That's all to say, it depends on the sport. There are some that have cuts, but many that don't.
And I would say that applies in the theater world as well. We have opportunities that do not have cuts. That radio show that I was talking about with Lars, that's a class, but they put on an actual production. So the theater world puts on 5 different shows a year, some of which are non-cuts. You simply sign up for the class and you're in there and you get to be in that production. And some that do have cuts, and those fall more under the heading of co-curricular. They're not through a class. But so we try to provide multiple opportunities for students to use their gifts, to find out too if this is something they like and if they want to pursue it. And I think there's value in both opportunities and having both experiences. There's values in being in something that doesn't have cuts, and there's values in being in stuff that has cuts. There's value in being cut, because part of the thing about being cut is you find out what your gifts are and also what they're not. And so then you also can discover, I've had students who have tried out every year for a show and made it their senior year and never made it before that. So you find out some of the things about who you are, how much you want to pursue something. I've also had students who have tried out for something, not made it, and gone on to become this fantastic photographer because that was actually their gift. And by being cut, they didn't waste their time doing something that wasn't their gift. They actually got to pursue something that turned out to be their gift. So I think we try to provide both types of opportunities. I've been cut from a million things. So, and there's been great value in that, and great value in me being able to be in a space that didn't have cuts, to be able to hone my craft and discover, what I can do and what I can do better. So we try to have, I think, a variety of those opportunities so that students can experience it all, and learn from it.
I do think with musical, it's unique in that there are cuts, but you don't have to be an actor. Like, you can be failure cut, but also be really involved in the production. And kids just want to be part of that team that puts together it. So I think it's really cool that a kid could get cut from that, but also still feel very valuable and have a blast working on the team as a whole.
Yeah, a lot of kids get involved in other areas in some of the different things for athletics as well as shows. Like if you get cut, there are ways that you can still get involved. So if your passion is just being able to tell the story, some people, if doing that on stage doesn't happen, there are millions of ways to get involved in the telling of the story. Go ahead. And
I've always told kids, don't let the fear of getting cut lead you to not trying it. I've had kids fearful and not try out still, because you don't know what's going to happen. And like Corbett said, there might still be a place for you. I've had kids be managers or encourage them to travel with me and film games, because you can still be a great part of the team and there's just still a place for you to experience other ways. And so don't let the fear of possibly getting cut stray you from not trying out.
And I would say too that one of the things that's unique about Wheaton Academy is when, like I remember a young lady who tried out for a show for me and she got cut and she was devastated by this. And so I reached out to her because that's part of who we are at Wheaton Academy. When we know someone's hurting, we're all like, we're not awkward and like, see you later, hope it works out for you somewhere else. Like, part of my job is to be intentional with that child. So like I reached out to her. I said, I see that this is something you're passionate about. Why don't you be my assistant, like my student director? She became my student director. Then the following year, she enjoyed that role more. Then she didn't try out. She was my student director for a couple of years, graduated and went on to do theater production and theater management for her college degree. So like there's, part of our job is to reach out and when a student is cut, help walk them through that and be there for them and help them to find their way and navigate through that, so that when they, the world is full of cuts. And so like helping them to navigate what those feelings are and how to manage them and how to get up and dust yourself off and try again or choose something else. Those are all college readiness skills that a student needs. And I think we try to provide that path and walk with it. We walk with students along it.
Yeah.
Great, it's great. We did have one question regarding transfers. If you come to Wheaton Academy and, is there an ability to get involved right away? I'm happy to speak to this one unless anyone else wants to dive in, because there's some logistics that I can cover. So I'm happy to answer this one. So from a fine arts perspective, robotics, clubs, teams, that the things are non-athletic. There's really nothing that holds you back from getting involved. You can jump in right away. There is a process though for athletes, particularly for those students who played on an athletic team at the previous school, where there's some paperwork that we have to file with the IHSA, which is the governing body of high school athletics in Illinois, to basically approve of the transfer and approve students to play. And all of those rules are really under the kind of purpose of making sure schools are not recruiting athletes, which of course is something that Wheaton Academy does not do, but nevertheless we still have to go through the process. And so really by a rule of thumb, if a student competed in their previous school, or in this case the current school, they're ineligible to compete at the varsity level 365 days from their last day of competition. But there are kind of 3 exceptions to that. One, if there's a move that moves the family outside of the school district that they're currently in, even though they're might not go to the public school, there still needs to be the move. A change in custody or some sort of parental arrangement, or kind of a third extenuating circumstance, which deals with a lot of kind of random little things. So our athletic department will partner with families once a student enrolls to go through that paperwork and that process. I will say it is a little bit cumbersome, but we are able to partner with families no matter the IHSA ruling to make sure there's a spot for them either to be a part of the team or to compete if the IHSA allows it to. So yeah, it's kind of annoying. I'm sorry, it's not a better answer. And really that answer is true no matter what high school you transfer into in the state of Illinois. That's not really unique to Wheaton Academy. So yeah, we're kind of nearing the end of our webinar. So if there's any other questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we will answer them. I think one question though that we had is kind of separate from kind of official co-curriculars of teams and clubs and things. What other areas can students get involved in to just contribute to student life? So I'm thinking different dances, or even community time, or yeah, just different kind of initiatives in school culture that are kind of separate from a team commitment. I'd love if you guys speak to maybe some of your favorite opportunities that we have available for students.
Kelly, can you speak to WOW reps? That was what I wanted to mention, that I just think speaks to so much of like service. And Lars, do you do WOW reps too? I just think the world of you guys.
Say that, actually.
I would love for you guys to talk about.
Yeah, I was actually gonna bring that up because that's one of my favorites, because it's a way that you can pour into the school and the community without being directly involved in the musical or the athletics. It's something totally different. So WOW Reps is just like being ambassadors for the school. So it's in a sense like doing things like this actually in person at school, and there would be preview nights, things like that. It's just welcoming people in, giving them a feel for what Wheaton Academy is and who we are. And it's so cool because it gets you involved in different ways. It helps you connect with people in the student body in the community that you didn't know, but also with incoming students, which for them, speaking from the perspective of a new student, having connections that you meet other students when you're visiting the school goes such a long way, because then you come in on the first day and you have some familiar faces that you can connect with, and that just brings a huge, like, a lot of confidence. I don't know how else to phrase that, but just big confidence to you on your first day because you have connections with these people, and that's just something so special to Wheaton Academy as these WA reps, because it gives a feel for who Wheaton Academy is.
So one great thing about Wheaton Academy is Project Lead, which is a senior kind of club that has 9 different sections. Couldn't name them all, but I was part of Project Lead Local, which partnered with just your local community and helping out the local community. So I this year worked with PADS, which was a homeless shelter, and every Friday morning at I think it was 6 in the morning, me and I think 7 other students would show up at this homeless shelter and just kind of serve them. And it was just a great way of kind of giving back to the community. And then another great thing about Project Lead is Project 9, which is coming to Wheaton Academy. You are partnered with a senior, like as kind of like a mentorship, and just like with Project 9, it's just so cool to have like a senior mentor that just cares so much about you. I remember my freshman year, I still keep in touch with my senior every so often, and it's just a cool, like, there's always a stereotype of, oh, the big scary seniors, like they're gonna bully me, but like there's like no such thing at Wheaton Academy, and they're just like there's so much. I have many freshman friends, and it's just so cool to have. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, it's great. Yeah, anything else about kind of co-curricular opportunities that are kind of outside of formal team structure?
Yeah, one of the things that I was thinking of that is actually probably the lowest bar to entry into our Wheaton Academy community is our entire homecoming week. And it's amazing. And when I first got to the school, I heard about it and I was thinking, there's no way this is as big of a deal as everyone's making it out to be, and how wrong I was. I'm not joking when I say that on the first day, which is we have dress up themes for every different day of homecoming week. The first day is a color day. Every class, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, is assigned a color to wear. And we get 100% participation on that day. Every single student dresses up and participates. It is unbelievable. We do these assemblies where we do all these silly games, get the energy and hype, and all of this fun stuff. And I would say that that's, like I said, one of the lowest bars to entry. It's actually like kind of unusual if you don't dress up on one of the dress up days. And something that was really cool that our student life team did, that Brittany was a part of, last week we did this homestaying week where we took the ideas from homecoming week in the fall and shifted it to the spring, trying to create connection and community even at a distance. And so again, every day of the week last week had a different theme. Kids had to dress up in costumes, post pictures. We put the best pictures on social media and Instagram, and it was amazing some of the stuff that people came up with. My favorite day was Throwback Thursday.
Yes.
And if you have access to Instagram, you should go check out some of the pictures on Wheaton Academy's Instagram channel from Throwback Thursday. It was amazing. But yeah, fun way to get involved. It's just to participate in dress up days.
Yep. I think the other one that's very. Oh, go ahead, Cal.
I just want to add another easy way to get involved. There's something called Maroon Platoon, which Lars, you might be able to talk about this more, because I don't know a ton about it. But Maroon Platoon, I think it's just a group of seniors that, in a sense, like lead, just like the excitement at athletic events. So at the football games, the basketball games, just being at those games and participating in that and being a part of the student section. And if it's a whiteout, wearing white. If it's like a camo night, if you're wearing camo, and just doing the cheers and bringing signs, bringing, I don't know, streamer, like whatever you want to bring just to support your team. And that's such an easy way to get involved to the student body. And it goes a really long way because you're supporting the people on the field. You're also being with your friends, and you're standing like shoulder to shoulder on bleachers, and you're like, it's so hot and you're all in this together, but it's really fun and it's so unique. And it's a huge way that I've enjoyed. Like, I love going to every athletic event that I possibly can because I think it is the best atmosphere because everyone's just so excited and you're all in it to like help out the people on the court and just support your friends.
There's also a couple other things. There's guys camp out, which I know nothing about, obviously, but I know it exists. There's like a guys camp out and a girls camp out. You don't have to do anything to be involved in that. Just sign up and you get to go. And the stories and the photos that come out of those experiences, there's a big freshman retreat. There's a lot of those like opportunities to connect that I think is really special. And even watching the way that seniors and upperclassmen, there's a community and a culture at Wheaton Academy where people remember what it's like to be new and what it's like to be the freshman. And so they're trying really hard to have an inclusive, welcoming vibe. So, because they remember what it was like, because we remind them, and we want that to be a thing where we're an inclusive, welcoming place, where we want you to come on in and find out what your gifts are. So that we can get to know you and see more of the image of God in you every day. And so that's the thing that's so fun. And whether it's in room platoon or at the guys camp out or on the field or on the stage or whatever it is, I think there's a spirit and there's a love that's going around, which is nice.
Great. Erin, do you mind talking a little bit about community time?
That's where I want to land.
That's great, because I think that's the primary way I think students know how to get involved throughout the year. So can you speak to that a little bit?
So once a week, all of the students and faculty and staff, we gather together. So Monday mornings at 10:30, we come together in the Fine Arts Building, and it's one of my favorite times of the week. Freshmen sit together, seniors sit together. So you sit with your class, and typically you'll see me on stage. Sometimes Mr. Thornton's up there. But we start with about a 10-12 minute video created by our WA TV class. And it's just a fun time to sit. There's announcements in that video. There's sports updates. There's just clips that your peers have put together. And then I'll share some live announcements. And really that time is just announcements, updates of what's going on in our student body. But really the purpose is to share with you guys anything that is going on, information. Sometimes we do segments of just what should we educate our students on, but everything that we've talked with you today is what you'll be getting from the stage. So if there's a new co-curricular starting, you're going to hear it on Monday morning. If guys camp out is coming, you're probably going to hear it for 3 weeks of how to sign up, what date's going on, who's in charge, when the meeting's going to be. If football tryouts are coming on, or there's a big football event and it's a whiteout, you'll probably see some players up on stage promoting it. So we really try to share as much information on Monday mornings with students about what's going on in our school community, and make it as exciting as possible. But you'll hear all that on Monday morning, and then we follow it up with an email to students. So in case you missed it, in case you were gone, in case you were distracted by your friend, you're going to get it in an email on Monday.
I gotta say, as a parent, I have been in there for quite a few, if I'm like painting before and after, and it is like a weekly family reunion that is so happy, and the kids come into like loud music and they're all like hyped up, and it's just the coolest atmosphere every time I'm on away. And I think this is such a unique place, and it's really cool. And then they, just like you're saying, they hear what's going on, but I just feel like they walk in and it's like a happy family that just wants to be together and figure out what they're going to tackle this week. But it's really unique.
Thank you for sharing that. And it's nice because you get to sit with your friends. So you're not sitting in class, like in your seat or your pod that your teacher is giving you. You get to see your friends once a week together in that capacity. And so it's a little more laid back, relaxed than other times that we might gather together.
Yeah, and
It's the highlight of my week.
the freshmen or something, they're all together, so then they launch off and scream.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. Well, if there are any more questions, feel free to put them in the chat here as we wrap up. We did have one kind of specific question come in for you, Corbett, of just clarifying for instrumentalists, kind of the difference between band and orchestra and then some of the other clubs that are available. So do you want to mind briefly speaking to that?
To the fine arts things that are available, is that what you asked?
For particularly people who play an instrument. So kind of the difference between band and orchestra, you know, as a class, but what are some of those other kind of outside of class opportunities for those students?
Sure. So, so obviously we have band and orchestra, and then we have a couple of percussion classes. Starting in the fall, there's going to be some piano classes as well that we're offering because we're starting to expand our instrumental curriculum. But then outside of class, there's also, we have a really sweet jazz band that like, they are schwanky beyond belief. So like they play for different events. They have rehearsals outside of the classroom. But so we have that jazz group. And in addition to that, because we have live theater performances multiple times a year, there's all kinds of opportunities for students to play in the pit for those different groups. We also have a pep band. Pep band plays for a variety of the athletic events, and they're just so much fun because they come, they literally sit in the stands, they're dressed in all their WA wear, and they play for all the athletic events. There's also a marching band. And so like, they're kind of like a drum. They're not a marching band, like the full, all the instruments. It's more of like a, I don't even know the name. It's like
Drum line. Yeah.
yeah, the drum line. Okay, there's, yes, my brain. I have quarantine brain. Okay, but so drum line, they play at a variety of events as well, at pep rallies and at different athletic events. They're ridiculous. They're so much fun, and they stand on the sides and play, but then they usually come marching out at different times to, like in our opener for football, for a football game. So there's quite a few instrumental opportunities outside the classroom. And because like we just hired actually another person who's going to be kind of, like I said, doing piano classes. And so the instrumental stuff is going to just continue to expand in terms of what the opportunities are. We also sometimes have students play like a solo or an ensemble type piece in a chapel. Right now, all of our instrumentalists, it was pretty cool. They put together all these pieces to send to nursing homes. So they did all these virtual solo and ensemble things that they sent to a variety of nursing homes to provide entertainment and the arts to people. We also have coffee houses and a lot of other opportunities like that where instrumentalists tend to get plugged in and share their gifts. So
awesome. Thank you. That's great. Well, I would be mindful of time. So as we wrap up here, I thought kind of my last question for you all is just to share any kind of words of advice for incoming students. A lot of the attendees here really range from being enrolled to still exploring and kind of everything in between. So any kind of quick word to encourage them as they consider Wheaton Academy or enter into high school.
The thing that I would say is you want to, the thing that I would say, because I was a student at Wheaton Academy, is that I knew the things that I was interested in, and I tried to plug myself in, whether it was in the classroom or through a co-curricular or some kind of club, as soon as possible into those things that I was passionate about, because I loved to act. And so I tried to be in as many of those things because that's where I started to form friendships with people who had something in common with me. And so that kind of transformed my experience as a student because I was able to quickly plug in and find common ground with some other students who are like me. And what's crazy is literally, so like I started teaching at Wheaton Academy 20 years ago. Literally before I got on this phone call, one of my students from 20 years ago and I were texting back and forth because when she was a student and started, she plugged in right away because she loved theater. I got to know her, and now she teaches acting at Columbia University. And so she and I were like literally texting, and I taught her 20 years ago. So like getting involved in something that you love, whatever you're currently passionate about, plug yourself in because that's where you'll get your network of people who love the same things that you do.
Great.
Mine's like yours, and I feel like I could go on about this for so long, so I'll try to make it short. But I would just say, as you're coming in, like Ms. Burek said, but get involved as soon as you can. When I came in, I was new this year, like I said, and I got involved with, over the summer, I started running with the cross country team, and being involved with a team or a musical group or anything like that, it gives you your first day of school, you step into the hallways and you have connections and you have people that you look at and you're like, hey, I don't know where I'm going. Like, I need some help, and they will help you 100% because the community at Wheaton Academy is one of a kind, and you will not experience it anywhere else. And that is especially with the teachers. Like I would say when you come in, the first thing you should do is go talk to your teachers and get to know them, because they want so badly to pour into your life and make an impact on you and be a part of who you are and how you grow in the next 4 years. And knowing that, I even just with quarantine and having the year cut off too much short, there were so many teachers that I wanted to reach out to and build a relationship with before the year ended. And now as I approach senior year, I'm going into it and I'm like, I'm going to get to know all the teachers in the entire school, because I know how passionate they are about pouring into young people and how much I want to learn from them because of how wise and knowledgeable they are in like every aspect of life. And they're amazing. So I just encourage you to, as you come in, do not be afraid to reach out to people, especially your teachers. They love you and they want to help you with your transition, and they want to help you through high school and with your walk of life.
Great. Thanks, Kelly. That's excellent.
My 2 words are the same as everyone else's. Get involved. Get involved. Throw yourself into something. There are countless opportunities to do it. And one thing, as Kelly was speaking there, that I think is worth highlighting. Last Friday, she organized a teacher appreciation drive-by where she pulled together all these students to load up their cars and literally drove around the greater Wheaton Academy area, I guess you could call it. And we're honking horns, going crazy, driving by teachers' homes to celebrate teachers for Teacher Appreciation Week. It was amazing. And they dropped off cookies at our front doorstep too, and they were amazing. Those didn't last up. They were so good.
Best cookies I had in a while.
That's great.
Lars, what were you going to say?
One thing I was gonna say was just kind of cherish every moment, because like as like my senior year got shut down early, it's like I've been thinking back on like my like 4 years, and just like I can like remember so clearly like my freshman retreat, and like there's just so many cool things that the school does for like your experience at Wheaton Academy, and I just like kind of wish I did more with my time.
Oh my word.
Susie.
But
You're involved in everything, Lars. That's amazing.
That was a problem. I think I had to turn away things, and which is a good problem, I guess, to have. And there's too many fun things to do at the school, so I guess it's a good problem to have.
I would say as a parent that we play a really big role in helping our kids navigate what all they can do so that they can keep up on their academics, because that's why they're there, but also to be able to be involved in a lot of things. And I think it's a great opportunity. If you think your kid might really enjoy it, they might need a little boost to try it. They're new, especially new to a high school that might be a lot bigger than their junior high, that they might just need a little help, saying, and encouragement that they can do it.
I would say ask questions. Like I sit with kids it's easy for a lot of them to jump right in, like you guys are saying, do it. But I sit with a lot of kids and families at Christmas time that are like, this is just really hard and I can't find my place. To ask questions. Like you're looking at a bunch of faces or hearing us right now, like use us as resources, but ask questions. Like I love sitting down with students and parents and saying like, let's talk about what's available or what we could do to support you in this, and ask questions. And like, we are your resources. And that's my favorite part about my job, is to like sit down and figure that out and kind of talk through it with you. Cause it's hard to get involved. Like it is hard to like put yourself out there for some people. And for others, it's super easy to jump in and say, this is what I want to try. But like, I acknowledge it's really hard for some people, and ask some of those questions and let us sit down and try to help you navigate some of that.
Great. With that, it's a great segue. We have our student-to-student digital hangouts on Friday afternoons at 2 o'clock. So we're hosting that again tomorrow. There's a link on our event page if you want to register, and it's a perfect time for your student to ask those questions even before they come to other students in a more kind of conversational one-on-one as opposed to typing them in. So if you'd like to join us, we'd love to have you at tomorrow's kind of student-to-student hangout. But really with that, I want to thank you guys for being such awesome kind of interviewees and panelists. Your insight is just so incredible and such a blessing to our families, both tonight and those who watch later in the recording. So thank you all. Thank you too for those of you who tuned in. We would encourage you to tune in again next week or again in our Zoom calls on Fridays. Also, if you want to download the chat that Robert put all the links and some helpful resources in, feel free to go to your GoToMeeting file option and you can actually save the chat log. So file and saves, and you can save those links and maybe come back to them later. He put some things about the homestaying week and the instrumental project that we put together. There's also a link there about our e-learning. Summer Academy signups end tomorrow for those of you who want to join our Summer Academy. There's also an option for rising 8th graders. So those of you who are in 7th grade now can actually join our Summer Academy in some specific classes if you'd like. And actually that was a question that did come up that we didn't get to tonight, but I'll just mention it briefly. There was a question about e-learning and implications for the fall. And just again, briefly, I'm happy to report that e-learning is going really well at Wheaton Academy. Our teachers and students are just thriving in a less than ideal environment, and learning really isn't stopping at all. So the link on the e-learning page will explain more. But I will say we are ready and equipped to do whatever the fall brings. Our hope and prayer is that this will be over and that we'll be able to be live again coming that first day of school in the fall. But we are prepared, if need be, to have that e-learning happen with students in the fall. So every student gets a Surface device as a part of their enrollment at our school. There's an online platform that we have all of our classes on. There's tons of things linked and posted, and teachers are really available. So if you want to learn more about that, I encourage you to look at that e-learning link, because it just really celebrates how well it's been going at Wheaton Academy. And really kudos to you guys for making that happen, because it has very little to do with me. So, but again, we just thank you so much for coming. We look forward to interacting with your family more in the future. And yeah, we just thank you for your time. So thanks for signing in tonight. Thank you again, panelists. Have a wonderful evening.